Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Bites episode number 119. We're coming on a Thursday, October 30th. It's Devil's Night in Detroit. Everybody be safe out there. And it's Halloween tomorrow, Jason. As I say, I'm Donald Wine. Jason is with me. Jason, Halloween's tomorrow. And tomorrow, we're giving everybody a treat, aren't we?
Yes, Donald, the treat that we are giving everybody coming on your feed probably, I don't know, 12 to 24 hours or so from right now as we record this is the stats game. We just got done recording it in, full disclosure. We just recorded it a little while ago. Went on. It's a long episode, but this is how we preview the season every year, and it's a ton of fun. You and me, Scott Rich, and Sam Klein. Four guys on the podcast at the same time, all talking about what are the stats that Duke's going to put up this year, and what does it tell us about how the team's going to do.
Yeah, so look out for that in your feed tomorrow. We wanted to first of all, Jason has to edit that, and that takes some time. But then we wanted it to be out there so you can enjoy it not just for Halloween, but for the entire weekend as we lead into the season. But as Jason mentioned, we do have some news that came down today. Kind of shocking news. I didn't think it was going to be something that we were going to be talking about. It was kind of hit our feed right before we started recording, and that is Maxime Meyer, who's a four-star recruit out of Bradenton IMG Academy, a Canadian, but playing at IMG Academy, has committed to the Duke Blue Devils. He's a 7'1" center. He committed to Duke over Florida and Stanford. And Jason, I know you've seen a little bit or heard a little bit about Maxime Meyer. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect from him and also how excited we should be that he is committed at this point.
It's a really interesting situation because Duke wasn't super involved with this guy for a while. In fact, the schools that were involved with him weren't exactly like the biggest of big time programs. Like we heard some about SMU, Vanderbilt, Michigan State, I know was in there a little bit. And then at Stanford as well. And then suddenly, like over the summer, things started really bubbling about this player. You should know that 6 months ago, there were very few people in college basketball recruiting circles who even knew the name Maxime Meyer. And then he started playing, he was on the Adidas circuit. He started playing over the summer, and a lot more people started noticing him. And his ranking, so to speak, where he falls among all the recruits in the country, it started shooting up. Donald, it is clear that Jon Scheyer likes these guys who shoot up in the rankings. We had the same story about Bryson Howard just the other day. Oh, no one knew about him, and then suddenly he was a top 10 recruit. Maxime Meyer, not quite the same thing. No one knew about him. He's now a top 100 recruit, but he is someone who has been rising and rising and rising in the rankings, and is now considered a really hot prospect, and I'm thrilled that Duke has gotten him. Like you said, 7'1", he's about 215, not the hugest guy, but nicely coordinated, has good footwork for a guy his size, has shown real propensity for, timing and knowing when to block shots. He's got a 7'3" reach and a very, very long wingspan. So he's someone who's able to, 7'3" wingspan, I should say. His standing reach is well over 9 feet. He is someone who's going to be able to impact shots at the rim. I think that this is probably, he's not super polished offensively yet. He's a good rebounder. He has a very good motor. That's one thing. This guy who fights hard on the floor, he doesn't, even though he's not huge and not really physically bulked up, he doesn't let you move him off his spot because he's battling you so much. Look, this is not someone who I think is going to be a immediate impact player for Duke. This is a developmental kind of prospect. And honestly, we haven't seen Duke's brought in some developmental guys, but we haven't seen them really develop those guys into solid players that become a major part of the rotation. Maybe we're going to see that. I think hopefully maybe with Darren Harris this year. But I think that Maxime Meyer has the potential to be someone like that who, as a sophomore, as a junior, really turns into a significant player for the Blue Devils because we've seen so much progression from him so far in just a short period of time. And he does look like he has a lot of the physical tools that would allow him to be a really, really significant player at the college level.
What at least impresses me and intrigues me the most about Maxime Meyer in addition to everything that you just mentioned, is the fact that he's going to get a lot of opportunities to showcase himself, develop, and also improve. The fact that he is playing with Canada's youth national teams, as I think you mentioned to me that he was on the U19s this summer. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the next thing I was gonna bring up, and let me just jump in really quickly because you're on it right now. So he played on the U19 team at the FIBA World Cup for Canada. Uh, it, I'm not gonna. He wasn't like their starting center, but he got decent minutes for them. It's worth noting this guy's young. He's still 17. He doesn't turn 18 till much later in his senior season of high school. And when he was playing on that U19 team, like he was playing against Cam Boozer, Nick Hemenia. He was playing against guys who are current college freshmen and even a fair number of current college sophomores. Um, for him to do what he did, and he wasn't like awesome, but he was good. He held his own. He showed he belonged on that Canadian team that he was playing for as a 17-year-old. You just got to think. First of all, he's absolutely going to put on more weight and get stronger. What we saw at the FIBA under 19 was a guy who you would project to be a really significant player when he actually gets to be 19 years old, which is when he will be his freshman, sophomore year at Duke.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, right, his stats at that U19 World Cup, 6 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, and assists per game, and 1.3 blocks a game. So he has a little bit of everything, right? He can pass the ball, he can grab
1.3 blocks.
rebounds.
How many minutes?
I didn't see how many minutes,
Okay.
but it wasn't many, right? Like, but again, it's a small sample
1.3
size, and he's
blocks
still
is a
able to do
good
that.
number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but 1.3 blocks a game is good. That shows me that he has some promise. That again, as now that he's in the system, I'm sure the coaching staff's gonna be working with him to say, here's what we want you to develop throughout your senior year. And again, IMG Academy, a really good school when it comes to basketball. They have a great program down there, and they play a lot of great competition. So he's going to be able to size himself up against some great players in his fellow players in his class. And I like the fact that he's doing that. Again, we saw what being on a international play, being in that kind of arena does for players and how it helps develop them. You mentioned Nick Hemenia, right? Nick Hemenia being on that U19 team this past year. When he got back, he came back with a lot of confidence, and that has helped propel him into the point where as you'll see in the stats game, we're talking about him starting possibly, right? He's in that conversation of getting heavy minutes, either as a starter or off the bench. You had before that Cooper Flag, he was on the USA select team and he came back, and not that he needed any confidence from that, but again, that kind of experience only helps players. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how he develops throughout this last part of his senior year, but also again on the international circuit, the high school all-star circuits, when we get to that point, how he performs against these guys, because I think it could be a diamond in the rough. And like you said, Jon Scheyer likes to find guys that maybe people aren't talking about, and all of a sudden they become this great player under his stewardship and at Duke in their freshman and sophomore year. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. By the way, I looked it up. It's 14.4 minutes per game he played. This kid, I think this kid, he's a late riser. He's going to be good.
Yeah, and like you said, maybe a one or 2 year before he really gets involved. But I'm really looking forward to that. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we do have some serious news to talk about involving one of our members of the Brotherhood, so we'll be right back to discuss. All right, we are back, and one last subject we had on this DBR Bites, again, a very short one, but I wanted to highlight the fact, or at least note the fact that Kyle Singler, again, someone who arguably is one of the best players to not have his jersey in the rafters at Cameron Indoor Stadium, has been involved in a lot of things this year. We talked, Jason, in January about some of the mental struggles that he was clearly dealing with, wishing him well and hoping for the best. Well, unfortunately, the news gets a little bit worse for him in the fact that he was arrested for domestic abuse last week. And we're not going to get into the allegations or anything like that. I don't think we need to belabor the point. A lot of that was kind of in the background until recently it became news. But one thing is for certain is the mental issues that he was facing in January doesn't feel like it has been been solved or healed or anything like that. And now we're getting to a point where he's being accused of domestic violence. I think it's a sad situation. As we mentioned, Kyle Singler is one of our favorites on this pod. We've talked a lot about his impact on the program, him winning a national championship. He was with my Detroit Pistons. He was with Real Madrid to start his career, and being able to watch him play for those two teams, also with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and be able to have a career that we thought was pretty good in the NBA is great. But this is not. There's no excuse for this, and being arrested for it is just again adding to what has been a really rough year for him. I just hope that he's able to find the help that he needs, not just for him, but for his entire family, who I'm sure is going through a lot trying to deal with this.
So the report about the incident says that officers believe that Kyle Singler was under the influence of narcotics when they went and intervened. The woman he allegedly assaulted is his girlfriend, and they have a child together. And my biggest thing about all this is sometimes you need to hit bottom to bounce up, to realize that you need help. And I think all of us who saw the videos of Kyle, some 9 months ago or so, recognized at that time that he needed help. And I think Kyle maybe didn't realize it then. I hope that perhaps facing an assault charge, a domestic violence charge, will allow Kyle to recognize that he needs help, because there's little question that a professional needs to get involved and help him deal with whatever demons are consuming him right now. I don't know there's that much more that we need to say about it. It's a pity. We are all very, very sad, and want to see him find a way back to the player that we all loved for many, many years.
Yeah, I will say, quite frankly, it's just disappointing, right, that we've reached this point for him, and that he's kind of is arrived at this point. And I think one thing I will say is there's been a lot of people on social media who have tried to kind of go at other players, other members of the Brotherhood, the Duke program, saying that they should have reached out and helped when it could have made a difference. We don't know that they didn't. And
I'll tell you that I know they did. I mean, I don't know personally, but
no,
I've heard
I just mean in general, right? Like, there's a lot of people. It's not just the Brotherhood. It's people within the NBA family that,
right,
because it's not just on Duke. It's on a bunch of people who I think did reach out, but we're doing it behind the scenes because it's a sensitive subject. It's a sensitive thing that you need to deal with when you're talking about someone's mental strength.
It's a private matter, but it's a private matter. I will tell you that I heard that folks like you say, with Duke and connected to Kyle through the NBA have been trying to help him, and that it's just been very, very difficult.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, sometimes people don't recognize that they need the help, and we've a lot of people have to deal with various forms of addiction, mental abuse, and mental struggles where people don't know that they need the help, and the idea is to hopefully try to see a way to break through before it is too late. And so I hope that he gets the help that he clearly needs. I think it's a disappointment that we're in this position, that we have to talk about him in this way, but that's unfortunately what we have to do. And I don't think that means we love him any less, but I think the disappointment is from the love that we have for him, and where we know what we know he is capable of, and hopefully he can turn it around. But I think that will do it for this episode of DBR Bites. Again, look out for your feeds tomorrow. We will get the stats game, and then after that, Duke plays Clemson on Saturday on the road. Hopefully they get a good win so we can talk about that and preview the season opener later on this weekend. So a lot of content coming to you very, very quickly. For Jason, I am Donald. This is now the Duke Band playing us out and taking us out.